When you're talking about a grizzly bear, you're talking about a highly intelligent, emotionally complex fellow mammal that on our best day, forget about it.
Unbelievable how strong they are, and they're huge grizzly bears, and they're dangerous and they're powerful. A bear can run 40 miles an hour and fast, and they can swim in the water just as fast.
You're talking about an animal that from 0 to 60 meters can outrun a thoroughbred racehorse. They're the definition of power.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a huge grizzly that just came out of from where Troy works and was going to cross the road. We almost hit it.
On my way up to 4 Mile now, yeah.
In the Bella Coola Valley on the northwest coast of British Columbia, people and bears have lived alongside one another for generations. The trophy hunt for grizzlies is banned, and bear viewing is growing. Residents used to deal with the problem bears themselves, but now a coexistence way of life is being adopted. A recent increase in human-bear conflict has led to media exposure of this once peaceful valley. Tensions are high, and a split is growing in the community, and human-bear conflict is at an all-time high.
Bella Coola is a beautiful valley, 2,000, 3,000 meter mountains on both sides, fresh snow on the tops of the mountains any time of the year. This time of year is really nice. The salmon bring everything to life. That's what brings the birds to the rivers, the bears to the rivers, and everything's here to feed on these fish. So we've got Chinook, sockeye, coho, chum, and pinks all using this river. And they're the fish that the bears are after. They're the ones that are coming up to spawn, lay their eggs, and then of course they die. Bella Coola itself is unique though, in that it's got relatively high or a relatively high population of people, humans, compared to the number of bears. There's been indigenous people living here for millennia. And the people and the bears are interacting in a way that's not common in British Columbia. They're living in close proximity to each other, both finding their own ways to exist, and that can be harmonious or controversial depending on the circumstance.
The last 3 or 4 years have been excellent. The fishermen have made lots of money and lots of fish have been in the rivers. Lots of reasons why there's no fish this year. Global warming and the oceans warming up a few degrees can alter their senses. Nobody really knows exactly why, but judging by talking to the locals and some of the elders that have been fishing all their lives here, it's definitely a steady decline in salmon.
Most people, they come here expecting the worst, expecting danger, expecting bears to be horrible animals that chase people away. And that's really not what they are. They're just animals that are out there trying to make their own existence. And we've now got a town and a community right in among their habitat.
Well, last night when I came home, I could hear thump, thump, thump. Like he was right here.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, I just about walked right into a bear,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Oh shit! So I shut that, and I could see him going in and out.
In and out of the house.
Yeah, he was right in there.
Huh.
Oh god, it was just a bloodbath.
Mess,
My
yeah.
poor chickens were just screaming. He got
Yeah.
about 15 chickens.
Wow.
You know, that's my girls, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing I could do.
Helping to make the adjustment that allows this to be sustainable, this town being in bear country at a time when there are diminishing salmon stocks, to have to not revert to destroying animals just because we live here. That's my overall goal. It's the element of surprise that does what we need it to do. It surprises this animal into not being interested in what it was after. So that's,
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed, literally, because they're not 100% effective. This bear did get a high reward last night, but this should keep it out. So that's all we can ask for.
Really
Whatever, I don't care about chicken shit. Yeah. I like chicken too. Okay, give me a
Awesome,
second to get
man.
the rest of my stuff out. From Squamish to Prince Rupert to the Kootenays, people are dealing with bear issues. In a lot of cases, they're dealing with them better than we are.
Nice looking G-bear.
Yep.
Despite the best efforts, bears are continually evolving and we have to keep thinking about ways to keep up with them.
The old homesteads, they would secretly get rid of the bears, but they never told anybody. We didn't know that. I didn't know.
This is the bear that charged my grandpa and just scared him enough for him to take it out and then bury it. He wouldn't tell you though, because you're not supposed to tell anybody. You're just supposed to keep it quiet so you don't have the whole internet come down on you.
They had that balance. They knew what to do back in the old days in the homesteaders. Now we're trying a new thing. Let's find this balance.
Hurry, Jesse. Jesse, heel. Jesse, heel. Okay, how's your day at school? Good. Good? Yeah? Are you learning lots?
Most people have gardens. A lot of people have fruit trees. We have a 10,000 volt electric fence around our garden to make sure that the bears stay out. But it's hard to try and maintain that when we have to be on constant watch, and we have to make sure that we can harvest everything so that we're not leaving attractants for the bears and everything. But even so, you have to be on guard, and that's why we have 3 big dogs to also watch the kids, because that's one of our biggest concerns, is just making sure that the kids are safe and can be outside and play the way kids are supposed to.
The best way to train them is get a good dog in the beginning. Every day we'd get out, we'd walk the territory. If we saw any sign of any bear, we'd show them the crap, right? And we'd say, where's it? What is it? What's that? You're getting the dog excited that there's a bear there, to learn to know that that's not right. That way then, and if we saw a bear, see the bear? Where's the bear? Where's the bear? Go get the bear. And then the dog would see something that doesn't look right in the field, and then the dog would take off down there, and the bear's starting to walk away, and then the dog starts barking, and then boom, it's locked in. These dogs are bred to protect livestock. My kids are livestock, your livestock. They go wherever we go, and they sit down and they watch. If you're talking about bear safety, I should tell the kids this all the time. Where there's a trail, keep an eye out for these mark trees. There's a mark tree, you look down, you see any fresh sign there, there's a bear that's been there not too long ago. The bear bites this, and they snap the top off, and you can see it's been bit and scratched for years, and then this has all been buggered up and bent, and they rub on it. It's not a very big one, and they'll pee around here and leave some scent, and what it does is it also, if a female comes by, it's just marking it to say, hey, look at, I've been here, and that's just simply just them communicating with each other, letting them know that they're there. But it's interesting. You see it all in the snow in the wintertime. And anyways, and the game camera, you're going to see that right now. I've seen hundreds of bears. I've got footage of bears. I like the bears. I think they're great. The thing is that they're like people. And the real word that I found over the years is that they're unpredictable. You just don't know which one's going to be a good bear and which one's not.
Most of the bears that we're experiencing, viewing, seeing on a day-to-day basis live in a relatively wild area. Other parts of the valley that are more settled, the town sites, the townships, those are the areas where conflict can occur because the bears are exposed to human or not natural foods. When bears end up in those circumstances, it often ends in a negative experience for everyone. Often the bears will be destroyed. Occasionally, and unfortunately of course, people are injured.
Keith Randy, the conservation officer at the time, we passed him in Hagensburg, so he pulled over and said that he'd had a bear complaint, and did I want to go? And I said, well, not really, but I will. So the story was there was at least 1 wounded bear, if not 2, because bears were going in and killing chickens and trying to kill their pigs, and that the neighbor had shot one of the bears with a 12-gauge shotgun and probably killed it. It was 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. Keith looked at me and said, where are the dogs? And right at that moment, the bear came flying from 12, 15 feet away. She was just laying there in the brush. So all he had time to do was just move the gun and pull the trigger, but the safety was on. Just as it hit him, he said, shoot it, and it grabbed his arm and just started to just chew his arm and hand. Tried to grab him by the head, and he took his right hand out, put it in its face. It lifted up her hump on her back just above his body. So that's when I shot, and then David, the other guy, shot as well. And then Keith actually pulled his handgun out. He had the wherewithal to pull his handgun out, and he actually shot it in the head as well, and it fell over. I ran over to him and I said, are you all right? And I'll remember this forever. He said, no, the bitch almost chewed my arm off, is what he said. And then he said, it's still moving. So I just swung my rifle and shot it right here underneath the chin. So I went back over and we both shot it 4 times, and I don't know how many other times it had been hit. I think the adrenaline level of the bear was just so high, it was taking quite a bit to actually put it down. And when we got back, the dogs had actually climbed over top of the gates. They were that scared that they actually climbed into the back of the truck themselves after this. Afterwards, you know, you shiver and shake, and I had nightmares for months, if not a few years after that. I would wake up in the middle of the night and my wife's like, "What's going on?" I say, "Well, it's grizzly bear stuff." So it didn't make me afraid to go out in the woods or be around bears. That was a very specific situation with that bear. So, you know, they're not all like that.
The whole valley seems to be really split, trying to balance the history of the First Nations people with the bears, the settlers who have lived with the bears for years, and everyone in this valley has an opinion, one way or the other.
My name was dragged through the mud based on misinformation, telling me everything from I was stupid to why don't I move out of the valley.
It's a situation that has the best of both worlds, the potential to be ideal, but it's far from that because there are conflicting views on bear management, on human management, on interactions, and that type of thing.
We've tailored our lifestyle to fit into where we are. I'm happy to see them. It's a thrill, and we enjoy it, and it's the reason we're here. But at the same time, we try not to impact the bears in any way. We've left most of the property completely wild the way it is. We've just got our own little area, but we make a really small impression or footprint. We're running a hotel in downtown Vancouver, and I did that for 12 years. And when I had free time, I used to come to Bella Coola and try to save the bears. We were fighting at that time. There was a big fight to halt the bear hunt. So I was involved in a very small way. And thankfully that's done. That fight is over. There's a moratorium on bear hunting. At any moment of the day, we got critters walking through. We don't go down and sit with the bears or approach them in any way. When we see them, we get into a hidden position and, you know, observe them without any disturbance. And you can really see what's happening. It's more real. So what you do is you spread the cameras out along the river. And then when you start you find a spot where they like to fish, then you concentrate many of the cameras all right there. That's
Paddington.
Paddington. There he is.
Yeah, these are videos from then. Oh, it's a live one. It's squirming.
Oh,
where'd it go? Where'd it go?
Oh, he's angry.
Oh no. It's gone. It's gone. I lost it. Damn it. This is one of my favorites. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Just bringing it over.
I'm not letting it go now. He's got a good clamp on it.
So as soon as a mama bear catches a fish, the babies are really after it. So she has to quickly grab what food she wants from it. A couple bites and then leave it for the babies.
In our little valley here, we've had a school teacher chased down on his bicycle 5-6 years ago by a bear. We've had a surveyor who was surveying our property here. Right at the beginning of the survey, boom, gets chased by a bear. He was by himself and showed up at the local grocery store with a scalp hanging off the side and saying, "I think I need to see a doctor." So I'm not sure exactly how many people have had problems around in places like this, because it is a wild place. But I've certainly never had any problems with it.
Years ago, the bears had a kind of a healthy respect for humans and they stayed away from them. but they've just got a little bit more used to being around humans all the time. I don't think that that's probably the best situation in a populated area.
Scary feeling when you know you're going to get mauled. Every once in a while I think about it in my dreams. And just that combustion of the jaw. What a shock to the brain, you know. I was just down the street here by the other side of Talia's gas bar and didn't have no place to run or anything. You could hear its claws on the pavement going click, 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 click. Oh, I thought I was a goner for sure. So it came attacking me. She got me here first, and I started punching it in the nose. It starts swinging around like a rag doll. So I came around and I used my thumb, and I jabbed her right in the eyeball. And then that's when she spat me out and threw me about 30 feet away, easy. So I just tucked and rolled, and a car came by. I got picked up by a nurse that took me right down to the hospital. We got 96 stitches, and there was about 3 doctors stitching me up all at the same time. Took me a while to not be scared of them again. But this is the Great Bear Rainforest Day, so they're all over the place around here.
My dad was the telephone man in Bella Coola in the 1970s. He saw one grizzly bear and it was running away when he saw it. In 6 years, 1 grizzly bear. So that's mind-boggling in the early 70s. Yeah.
And how many do you see?
I know. I see them every single day now. Like I just saw sow and a cub driving down to get my boat trailer. I just saw the sow and a cub flying over, with the helicopter. There were still bears around. You saw tracks all over the beaches and everything, but very nocturnal and afraid of humans.
While traveling back from our annual fall trip to the Southwest states in October of 2014, I received an email regarding a human-bear conflict taking place in the Bella Coola Valley. I spent 25 years fishing the Narco River for spring salmon and observed what took place with grizzly bears after the park was closed for hunting. When I first encountered the narco grizzly bears, they were terrified of people. Then after being protected, their population increased and their behavior reverted back again to being natural. For the first time, people witnessed grizzlies walking down their driveways during the daytime. Many photographers started showing up to photograph and film bears. Shortly thereafter, guides started using drift boats to view bears, and a thriving bear viewing industry is taking place. Then, with controlled exposure to humans and no significant conflict in the area, they became habituated close to human presence.
This is the 5th grizzly bear we've seen so far this morning, and we're not even to the bottom of the hill yet.
Last night, within a 24-hour period, there were over 18 bears in this yard. My property is a walkthrough for these bears, and I understand that and I accept that. But it's an everyday occurrence now, and now it's come to the point where I can't walk outside the house without first taking precautions just in case there's a bear. It got to the point where I cut down most of my orchard, and the rest of it is going this year. Before you could deal with the issue, chase them away and they wouldn't come back, but now they're not intimidated at all. You go out, you scare them away, and they run about 10, 15 feet, and they'll stop and actually come back. We don't have children, but what about someone with children? If we continue on this path where the issue is not being dealt with, you can see it now. The bears are overrunning the valley. It's an attitude adjustment. It's more or less the whole individual, the community, and the province. With the Great Bear Rainforest now, they've almost idolized the bear, and tourism is a huge issue here. And bear viewing is a huge money draw for tourism.
What's happening here in the valley now is these people are actually hunting bears with cameras now.
Tisha, they're behind the log house. The people back.
Leave them alone. You feel like just saying, leave the bears alone. Let them be wild. Don't get them used to people.
I benefit from it. I'm rowing a boat up there at Tweedsmuir Lodge, showing people bears. But there has to be a little bit of a balance between that and the people that have to live here as well.
When you have no hunting, and then you have a small valley where people live, you have children catching school buses, you have people trying to grow their own food. But when you have people influxing into this valley here, just coming to see bears, and the bridges are packed with people, the sad reality is these bears are not scared of people anymore. And so when those people leave, it's the locals here that have to deal with a bear that's habituated now. And if you got something, they're gonna take it. And if you got something in your house that you're cooking, they're coming in to get it.
A northern BC man guarding his home and standing his ground in the face of a charging grizzly bear.
Tonight on The National, we are following a terrifying encounter between a man and a bear caught on camera. Now, a warning, some viewers might find these images distressing.
She's charging. Oh, God. Oh, no. Where is it? You okay? Where did she go?
Fucking gun jam. So I opened up the door, and as soon as I came out here, she came full blast, and I just ran back inside. And then I grabbed the shotgun, I put the 3 shots. And then I yelled at her, I said, go on! And I shot right up here above her head, and she started walking. And I got to about here, and then right where that bush is there, she's laying on the ground. Before I even saw her, I heard the ground going thump, 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 and she was running like this, not running like this. It's like the 2 paws coming forward, head down, and I remember going back, and my crock came off, and I aimed and I shot, and then I just remember her roaring and growling and rolling and kicking gravel everywhere as fast as I started running. It just seemed to happen so quick. I mean, all this happened so fast, it's hard for me to imagine it, right?
Yeah, it was quite a thing. I mean, he's been trained. I mean, I was one of the ones that qualified him with a firearm during his work with Department of Fisheries and Oceans. So he's had a lot of bear encounters, and he's worked around bears all his life. So he's pretty experienced around bears, not to have any teeth marks in him. But that was the closest I think he's ever been. So.
Every animal that's out there, whether it's the squirrels or the rabbits or the bears, they know we're here and they know who we are, and they're walking around us, and they see us a lot more than we see them. And when we do encounter them, it's not two strangers. They already know who we are, and they've already formed their bear opinion of this human. I used to be a hunter. I don't think of wildlife anymore as something to shoot. I don't get excited. Like, I saw a big buck this morning. I didn't have my rifle. Oh well. Now it's more the wonder and awe of seeing it and knowing that it's there. And you know, these guys, they're out there right now. There could be one looking at us. There could be one looking at us right now. We'd never know. They don't just go wandering aimlessly. Usually they've been shown by their mothers, and then they'll show their cubs and they'll show their cubs. So they've been introduced to this river when they were just little fuzzy balls. And they know what they're doing. They know how to fish, and they know where the fish are. That's what they do for a living. So they'll congregate where they think the fish are going to be instinctively or knowledgeably.
just come and walking the dog here about a week and a half ago and noticed that there's 2 brand new bear beds here that they've dug up. But there was hornets' nests in the ground all over last summer, and you could see where they dug up a hornet's nest and ate the grubs, and then you could see from one hornet's nest you could see another place they dug up, and you could go and there was another place and another place and another place. They were just all over the place. There was hundreds of dug up hornet's nests all over back here at the end of the summer. That was just the food source that they went from salmon right to those hornet's nests. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah, once the salmon are finished, they just start digging and looking for anything they can find.
How are you today? You off to the luncheon?
I'm okay.
I feel sorry for them because I know they're hungry, and this year has been not good in our river. Our fruits haven't been as good as they were last year, so I think they're really feeling it.
Mama bear and her cub were running through the town while kids were all going to the bus stop this morning. I mean, a whole pile of people saw it around town. Throughout the day, if you just drove through town, you're going to see her today.
Some of them say to shoot them all, and the others say protect them, and some of it's got a lot of anger and rage, death threats from the outside world, lots of hate letters towards this valley. It's a really on thin ice issue.
There's a lot of dispute about the bears and a lot of controversy with them in the valley here, and everybody has their reasons. In the end, the bears aren't going out and exterminating us and destroying our cities and our habitats. It's completely the other way around. We're the ones that are going into their world, and we're changing it, and it's having impacts. When there's lots of food, they leave everybody alone. They're down where the food is. When there's no food, they go find it. All they want to do is fill their stomach just like you do.
The people of Bella Coola have been set up for tragedy. Grizzly bears are now entering outbuildings and may soon start entering houses.
The beauty of Gary's stuff is he put on paper what he saw over time, and then he made predictions. And a lot of his predictions are kind of coming true, which is increasingly we're going to have to become more and more barricaded, wired in, and increasingly there'll be laws like shouldn't have bacon and eggs on Sunday morning with your windows open because it's your fault if a bear comes in.
The most important understanding I have gained over the years regarding human-bear conflict is this. Humans are predatory omnivores, and bears are omnivoristic predators. We arrived at our similar evolutionary status from opposite directions. Unfortunately, our survival requirements overlap too much for us to live side by side. It is not their fault or our fault, and nothing can be done to stop it.
Yes, clean up your garbage. Yes, your barbecue, all these attractants. Everything's a bear attractant. Gasoline is a bear attractant, and that plastics, and that, you have to live. We live here, and they have no problem getting into buildings. They want to, they're going to get in there. So if, the idea that you get rid of all their food supplies, I don't think is great either, because they're going to get some food somewhere if there's a big population of bears.
I don't know if this is how they got in or not, but the store was wide open in the morning. So they went right in there, and ripped the top off of that deep freeze there and ate all the contents that was like 40 pounds of moose burger and sausage and stuff in there. And the cubs and the mom were right inside here, which is only a back door over there that's got a glass panels, so they could have gone right into the house if they wanted to. And she just kept coming back, and there was 2 COs here and a cop. They told me to stay in the house, and so we were like prisoners in our own house. They euthanized the sow because they didn't want her to go into anyone else's house. They caught the cubs, I do believe, and sent them out.
Like I said, less than a month later, she broke into my coworker's place. He phoned me up. He says, "You got to keep your pets at your own place." He was so upset. He was joking around. And he told me what happened. And then I actually felt bad thinking, I didn't have any slugs in there. Realistically, maybe I should have killed that bear to get rid of that highly aggressive sow, even though she has cubs. It's just not worth it.
When they're coming into your house, you don't feel very secure in your house anymore. Onto the property is not so bad, but in the house is the scary part.
One of my cousins was mushroom picking, and then he came around this corner and there's a big bush. Then he was face to face with that grizzly bear, and the bear was same height as him on all fours. That was a huge bear. And then he stopped, and the bear was staring at him, and then he talked to it. He says, "I'm sorry for intruding in your home, but I'm not here to harm you." And then he started backing up from that bear. The bear turned around and walked away. That's how our ancestors taught us. If you ever encounter a bear, talk to it. Don't run, don't get angry, just tell it that you're not going to harm him.
As I'm walking on this trail, which is a bear trail, I looked over and I saw this pile of dirt, and I see this head sticking out. To me, it looked like a sow's head. I instantly kind of got a little shocked, and I thought, I got to get out of here, because whatever killed that bear, that's a big grizzly bear that's dead. And then I looked ahead of me and I heard a and I look, and all of a sudden I see this extremely large male bear, and he looks at me and he's right on the trail. What he did is he didn't charge, and he went right next to a cedar tree, and as he's standing on his hind legs, he started rubbing his back on the tree. And he's looking at me, and then I realized I'm talking to this bear, which I didn't know I was doing until I was doing it. I was like, "Hey, calm down, hey, I just want to go through." It was just instinctive that I was talking to this big bear, because I'm realizing I got to get out of there. It's getting late, and it's going to get dark. There's no choice but to go by this thing. I didn't know what to do. I've seen a few bears, but this guy, he was and then what he did is he got down on all fours, and he started huffing and kicking the ground. He started throwing stuff towards me. He started smashing a log. I ended up finding a birch tree by me, so I started smashing that too. And then he started peeing, and I'm thinking, okay, well, what do I do? Believe it or not, I had to go to the washroom, because we were at stalemate there. Like, this bear wasn't going, he was just wanting me to turn around. So I, urinated on the ground like he did. He walks back over that tree, and he starts ripping branches off the tree. And I'm looking how high he is. Those branches are way up there, and he's just busting these big cedar branches like there's sticks. And boy, I'll tell you, he was acting intimidating, and it was working. I was getting intimidated. This went on probably for about 15 minutes, which back then it seemed like an hour. After I was talking to him, saying, let me go by, he realized I wasn't gonna leave. He goes and he sits on his butt, and he literally put his hind legs in the air. You can see it was submission. And as I'm walking towards him, which is the hardest thing to do, I had the gun pointing at him. I'm saying, hey, things are okay, I just want to go by. And once I got by him, I actually turned around and I just thanked him for letting me go by. He come down to the trail. He walked over to where I was, where I broke that tree, and he sniffed that tree, and then he sniffed where I peed, and then he peed right where I peed, and then he sat there and watched me walk away. I look back at that, and it was like I communicated with a whole nother species of animal, and it was, to me, communication. The natives I know, I've talked to them, I got many of my friends and stuff, they would harvest the odd one, that's simple as that. The bears lived with them, don't get me wrong, they did coexist, but they coexisted in a way that was respectful to each other. They respected the bears, and the bears respected them. And people have to understand the real history.
It's a spiritual thing because we wear their cloaks, we have grizzly bear regalia, we do their dance, the grizzly bear dance. And the grizzly bears, we respect them. We respect all animals in our culture. We're not there to harm them, we're there to protect them. We occasionally kill bears for their hide and their meat for ceremonial use. But when the problem bears came way back before colonizers, the ones that were too bad and started walking around in our village, they set bear traps all around our village with logs, and the bears went into it to the bait, and those logs killed them. That's how they dealt with them back then, because it was a law that we didn't allow them to come into our village, might harm the children or our families.
Last year we had about 12, 14 trucks on patrol because of Halloween, because our kids were going trick-or-treating, like protect our youth and protect the bears being shot. The dogs were just barking like crazy.
Those people who live in cities don't understand the way we live because they've never lived it. They don't have any clue on the danger of what a bear in real life would be. They'll never experience how powerful a bear is in real life, what it can do.
But I think it might be a quiet night with the shooting. I was down here. I'm not really too sure on all the information. I just know that the cub was survived and the mother was killed.
I think the bears that live in this populated area have to have a bit of a healthy respect for humans. I know I argue with people about that, about whether or not we can kind of live a little bit closer relationship. It usually ends up, what's happening now is the bears lose out and they get destroyed. So I think it's better for the bears if they're a little afraid of humans.
Well, this is the mama that's been bugging us for the last week with her babbies. Roger's gonna go and try and scare them off. There they go. She's got two little white-faced ones. Yeah, that really scared them, Roger.
Yeah. Oh, imagine.
I think that maybe 20 years from now, instead of people coming into this valley and looking at the proliferation of bears and the sheer amount of them, they're going to be coming back to see if there's any bears left.
You like what you're doing?
I love what I'm doing as a job. I couldn't dream up a better job than what I've created. It allows me to be on the river, which I love. It allows me to see the bears that I love. This is the best of all worlds.
There's a lot of dispute about the bears and a lot of controversy with them in the valley here, and everybody has their reasons. One guy says it's all about tourism, let's stop killing the bears and start taking their pictures. Well, that has problems too. But the people arguing that this is a good thing and we've got to stop killing, they're right too. Everybody's right. There's no wrong point of view. You know, we got to stop fussing with each other and blaming each other. There's people in this valley that hate each other over the bears and their opinions of the bears. You know, is hunting wrong? Some people fill their freezers and that's the only way they can make it through the year, is by supplementing their income in a place like this where there's one grocery store 600 kilometers. Other people are vegetarians, they don't need that. That's me, I don't need to hunt. But do I figure that the hunters are wrong and I'm right? No, we're all right. I'm living my lifestyle my way and they're living theirs too. And it's the same thing with the bears.
I don't care what anybody says. Anybody says. If I had one of my kids get killed and I went out there and seen her rip the shit in my yard just like I seen some of these other people, you think that I'd ever live the rest of my life knowing that I could have went out and did something? Back to your thing about how do you feel. It's not about how I feel, it's how I feel about my kids, about being out there being safe. Yesterday, when the dog went nuts and she went to see why the dog was barking, and I realized, I just went run over there and get out, don't do that again. So I got PTSD, like I had that sick feeling, you know, where it goes to your heart. God forbid if something happened to her. I mean, I already had one daughter, you know, who's screwed up now from being chewed on, so it's not gonna happen again. But I don't want them to be scared of the woods. I want them to enjoy it just like I did.
Balakula means beautiful valley in our language. Wachula it's called. But in Nukok, we're the Nukok nation, which means becoming one.
Well, I hope that we can come to some sort of balance where we can enjoy the outdoors and our life and our subsistence way of living, and the bears can stay wild as well, because they deserve their freedom and we deserve ours too.
I've encountered a lot of bears. They were just there, then they weren't there. They hid away from us. We weren't there to harm them and they weren't there to harm us. We've learned to live with them.